We studied a lot of things about Bible reading. This is class number 338. We've gone through probably around 3/4 of the Bible so far reading in our Bible readings. Now, we're going to study a place in the Bible right now that's very famous. Almost everybody, whether they're a Christian or not, or whether they ever read the Bible, they know about this. Now we're studying the Gospel of Mark. I was requested to do this from Greek into English, and it's like looking at the Bible in 3D, in color. So let's look at this now. Jesus walking on the water for the next about 7 verses. Jesus walking on water. They did a movie one time, Remo Williams. And in that movie, this Oriental fellow, this Asian fellow, he was like a master kung fu or whatever you call it, artist, judo or something. Anyway, he would walk on water, run on water, basically. And he taught Remo Williams how to run on water. Well, there's only one man that really ever walked on water, and that's Jesus Christ. And matter of fact, he could give you the ability to walk on water if he wanted to. He gave it to Peter, didn't he? Now let's look at this. Kai, Euthus. Eneg, Kasim. Tos, or Tus, Mathetes. Auto, Em Bene. Ace to, Ployon. Kai, Pro Again. Ace to, Paran, Pros, Bethi, Dion. Eos, Autos, Apo, Lie, Ton, Oklon. And immediately, he compressed, he compelled. Now here that word is, we got a word Kai, page 208, little conjunction. This sentence is actually part of the last sentence. We have it broken down in verses, but it's actually part of the sentence before. Sometimes it'll go that way for a whole chapter or even more. And immediately, Euthus, that's one of Mark's really dynamic words. It's a little adverb of time. Immediately, right now, immediately. And he's bringing out the verb forms of the Hebrew into the Greek. And immediately he compelled. Third person singular, first aorist indicative active. And that means to compress. It means to arrest you. You're arrested. You are handcuffed. You are compressed together, so to speak. He compelled the disciples. Tous, mathetes, that's accusative plural masculine, both of them. Mathetes is a what? A habitual learner. That's somebody that is following him and learning all the time. Now just think about this for a while. Now these people, you know, this society, these weren't rich people. You know, sometimes rich people can take a vacation and be gone for 6 months and never bother their pocketbook at all. But these guys were just common fishermen. Now we're going to find out that they're going to be gone basically for 3.5 years from their jobs. Now they work occasionally and things. Maybe they got people working for them. But I'll just tell you one thing also. When you got a business, if you're not there, you can't expect them to do what they're supposed to do. They only do what you inspect. You don't expect, you can expect all you want to, but they only do what you inspect. Now, you've got to get that straight in anything in life. Whether you're having work done or whatever, they will do what you inspect. So now these guys they are following Jesus as habitual learners, and evidently they're getting some sort of what we might call compensation from different areas where they're going. Maybe people are we know that when Jesus sent them out on the unlimited, what we call a commission, that he said, don't take a purse with you. Depend on these people to give to you. So many times God puts it on people's hearts to give. And so evidently they were getting some type of monetary compensation to keep on going. And immediately he compelled the habitual learners, his disciples of him, and this is basically, sometimes it talks about them as the 12, which were the 12 apostles. Those were special disciples. They were the leaders of the church. But the disciples were all of those, and how many people were following him at times? 5,000 to 10,000 people. I was a member of Valley Baptist Church for 20 years, and it got up to the point where there were 10,000 people there. That's a lot of people. But Jesus had a bigger church than that. And the disciples, the habitual learners belonging to him, auto, that's third person singular, or third person pronoun, genitive singular masculine. The disciples belonging to him. Now, if you're in Jesus Christ, you belong to him to this day. And then it says to embark, bene, bino. That means to carry away. To carry away is what it means. Embark. To embark. Eis to ploion. Unto and in the boat. This little boat. Maybe it was about 20 feet long or so. Maybe 25-foot long boat. This is not a big ship of any kind. This is the boat, the fishing boat. Now they used the fishing boats not for fishing now, for people, or for fish, but for men. And they go into the fishing boat, and they go toward pro-ago. That comes from pros and ago there. They go toward, present infinitive active, the other side, the peron, toward Bethesda. Bethesda. All right, Bethesda. Until he dismissed the crowd. Now the crowd and everybody is going to go follow him because they're wanting to see the great miracles he's doing. They want to hear the words of the kingdom, the words of God. And Matthew 14:22 through 33 and John 6:15 through 21 are cross references to this. And this word here, crowd here, how many people are here? Oklo. That's accusative singular masculine. Definite article and that, but it comes from oklos. How many people are in oklos? 5,000 to 10,000 people. So there's 5,000 to 10,000 people following. And by the way, I taught this in class in CMBI in 1976, July the 19th, one day after my birthday. Or not July, but January. 646 now. Kai, apostok, sa menos, autois, apelthang, eis to, oros, prosu, ka, thaste. And having bid farewell, or taken leave, that comes from apo and tasemai. And having taken leave, first aorist participle, middle voice, nominative singular masculine, to them, he left. He departed. Apelthon. It comes from apo and erkamai. Unto the mountain to pray. Jesus goes up to the mountain to pray. How many times have you prayed today? How many times have you prayed today? Do you know, we pray when we eat. Usually when I wake up in the morning, I pray and thank God that I'm here and that I did sleep some or whatever, you know. Even when I don't sleep, I thank God that I'm still here. We pray. The Bible says for us to pray always, but do you just think about it for a little while. Now Jesus prayed. Now, how in the world does Jesus pray to God when he's God? Now, when I was sitting over there in that chair a while ago, Larry, and Marilyn, Sharon, I had a hard time getting up. One time I had to make about 3 tries getting out of that chair. I could tell that my body was not working with my spirit and soul. It wasn't cooperating very well. Now Jesus is, if you want to use this term, and it's a term of condensation, it condescends down to us so we can understand a little bit about the Godhead. Jesus is like that body that I had trying to get out of that chair. The Father is the soul, the Spirit is the Spirit of God. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, that's the triune God. Now, does the triune God commune among itself? Among himself, you might say? Yes, he does. How often did Jesus not have time to commune with himself, to pray? If people were all around him, they were bugging him all the time, weren't they? Mm-hmm. He didn't have time to pray, so now he's going to go into this Oros, this mountain, to pray. First there is infinitive middle voice, to pray. He went there to subject his body to the divine will of the triune God. When you talk about Jesus praying, what does he see? What does he say in his prayers? What does he say? Have you just thought about what did Jesus say in his prayers? He usually says this, not your will be done, not my will be done, but yours. He asked the Father to take care of his children when he was dying on the cross of Calvary. Take care of these that are mine. Watch over them while I go into Hades and preach to the departed spirits that I have overcome, that the promise has been fulfilled. You see Jesus talking and praying there in Gethsemane. On the cross of Calvary, you see him praying. You see him praying now on this mountain. He's going to go try to pray. Verse number 47 now. Kai upsios, genomenes, ein to ploion en meso te thalase kai autos monos epites ges. And evening having become. That word evening, opsios. It's the evening time now. Having become, genitive, singular, feminine, second aorist, middle voice. Evening comes for itself, doesn't it? Larry, you don't have to let the evening come, do you? It's going to get here. Yeah. With or without you.
Can't stop it.
That's it. Middle voice right here. The evening became for itself. Marilyn, do you have to make the morning come up in the morning? No, it's going to come up with or without you, isn't it? Same way with me. Evening having become for itself, it kept on being the boat in the middle of the sea. That word there, third person singular, perfect, indicative, active, kept on being the boat. Now the boat kept on being right out in the middle of the Sea of Galilee. Now Sharon, you've been on the Sea of Galilee, and I've been out there I went from the north to the south of the Sea of Galilee across the boat. I'm going to tell you something, when you go over those foreign lands, I went to war for 6 months over there. And going across the Sea of Galilee was something special that day for me. A very special day. I was in the Sea of Galilee. I was around the 10 cities where Jesus preached and all of that. But I had been shot at. I'd been dodging bullets, bombs, everything you could think of. Over there, all the time I was over there in that area. And when I got on that boat in the Sea of Galilee, there was an Israeli flag flying and an American flag flying. I took a picture of that. I felt like I was home. When I got back to the United States of America, when I landed there in LAX in Los Angeles, I landed in New York first. And then I flew from New York to Los Angeles. But when I got in Los Angeles, I just got down and kissed the ground. I felt like I was safe. But I'm going to tell you something, you're safe anywhere you are with Jesus with you. These boys were safe no matter what they were with Jesus with them. When I looked up there and I saw that American flag flying up there, I was in places where they hated Americans. I was in Damascus, Syria for 9 days, or 11 days. I was in Amman, Jordan. I was down there in Arabia. I was in Lebanon, where they followed us in with anti-aircraft cannons. They come out there with a machine gun and threaten us not to get off that airplane. They're getting ready to kill the president of Lebanon, the prime minister. They're getting ready to kill him. We didn't know that. We were flying in there and we were going to lay over a little bit and go on over to Damascus, Syria, which is not very far from there. But they came out there with a machine gun. You know what it's like to feel unsafe? You ever been unsafe? When I took off from Rome, Italy, I took off in this old 707 jet, this old Boeing 707 jet. And that jet looked like it had been through 3 or 4 world wars. The seats were all ragged. And Brother Madden was sitting over here and I was sitting over there by the window. And I looked out there and a couple of times I got pinched between the cabin and my seat. I had to watch out not get my arm in it because the cabin of that ship was just going in and out like this. That thing was worn out. And then I looked out there and the engine and oil streaming out of the engine. Now I'm flying over around 3,000 miles on this trip. And I'm flying over the Mediterranean Sea and I see Malta down there, I see Cyprus, I see all these islands down there. I look way over there and I see Mount Ararat and I see those mountains over there. I mean, we're high. I'm looking out there and I'm seeing that engine that's pouring oil out of it. And I'm a mechanic, you know. And I got this cabin guy, you know, there weren't any girls here because this is an Arab country. So I called this guy over there and I said, you see that engine out there? I said, you see the oil coming out of the engine? You could just see that oil coming out of the engine. It was splattering and streams, the yellow streams of the oil coming out of there. I said, you see that? And he said, yeah. I said, what do you think? Is that all right? No. He said, no. I said, would you go tell the captain about this? And we flew about another 1,000 miles and the captain didn't come. They're out there in the middle of a storm in the Sea of Galilee. I'm across the Mediterranean Ocean or sea out there and I'm in trouble. I'm in an airplane that's falling apart. I remembered a long time ago when I worked at Sunderland Refinery, there's a guy out there that came in, 2 of them actually were airplane pilots in World War II. They flew those B-52 bombers over daylight raids in Germany. And this one guy there, I thought a lot of him. He said when I flew in, he thought I was shot in the leg. The airplane was just shot to pieces. When he landed in London, the wings fell off the airplane. The wind was the only thing, the air was the only thing holding the wings up. They were shot and they fell off when they landed. And I was over here, I'm thinking about him. I'm flying in this airplane and I'm praying to the Lord, Lord, is this when you want me to go home or we're going to make it over here? What's going on right here? So about a half an hour or so later, the guy comes by again and I said, did you tell the captain about that engine? He said, no, I forgot. I said, could you go tell the captain about this engine? This engine is right there by me. There's 2 engines there, and the one closest to me has got oil running out of it, and it's been running out of it for hundreds of miles. So they go up there and they get the captain. Now we're getting close to Lebanon, where they're getting ready. They're having a civil war in Lebanon. They're going to kill their Christian leader because the PLOs are coming out of Jordan and coming in there. And he comes over and he looks out there and he says, "Oh, oh." You know, like this. He looked at that. Okay. Then he goes up into the cabin and he gets on the radio in Arabic. He's talking up a storm. And then he gets on the speaker and he tells us, "We're going to make an unscheduled landing in Beirut, Lebanon." Now we were thinking about doing this, but we have to do this because we're running out of oil in the engine. Now just think about this little comparative here with the Sea of Galilee out there, and we're going to have a storm. Anyway, so we land in Beirut, Lebanon. Brother Madden sitting over here. Brother Phillips, look at those rifles. I looked down there, and they're cannons. He called them rifles, aircraft rifles. They're following us in. Have you ever had somebody hold a gun on you? How about a cannon and you're in the air? Here comes these rifles. We're flying up here like this, and they're coming in, and the rifles just following us all the way down. And we land, and these people are fighting in Arabic. They are fighting in Arabic over the air. Like this, you know. And they come out there, and here comes a Jeep with a machine gun on it. And they demand that a couple of people get off that airplane. Now they're speaking Arabic, so I can only understand the word now and then. But they demanded that these people get off the airplane. So they got off the airplane. And they shut the door. Then he came out there with a ladder on the Jeep, and they got up there and they opened up the engine compartment, and they started pouring oil in that engine. And we took off, and they followed us out with aircrafts. By the time we got over there to Beirut, or to Damascus, Syria, which is not a friendly country either, we found out that they had tried to shoot down the airplane, and we were in the way of the Christian prime minister. And they were bombing things off. We heard bombs going off all over the place. Boom, boom, boom. Now, evening having come for itself, there kept on being a boat in the middle of the sea. And he alone upon the land. Jesus alone upon the land. And then it says here, Kai Edon Autos Bason Nizomonos Ento Elu Enain Ein Garho Anemos Anantios Altois Peri Tetar Tain Philakane, Tes, Niktos, Erkitai, Tros, Autos, Peri, Patom, Epites, Thalase, Kai, Ethylene, Parelthane, Autus. That's a long verse. And having seen them, now, having seen them, there's the Kai, this is the part of the last sentence actually. And having seen them, nominative singular masculine, second aorist participle, them, accusative plural masculine, third person pronoun, having been distressed. When I went over to the Mediterranean Sea, I was somewhat distressed. I'm up in the air, and the airplane's falling apart. Can you imagine riding an airplane where the cabin is going boom, 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 boom? It's so weak, the structure is so weak that it's coming in against and hitting my seat. And it hurt when it hit my arm. I got my arm out of there as fast as I could. And the oil's coming out of the engine. Now these people are distressed. Bason dinamos. That's present participle, passive, having been caused to be distressed. Bosinozil. In the, that word illuminane, That means to row. That means they're trying to urge the boat forward. For the wind was against them. They weren't getting anywhere. Remember, Marilyn, when we were out in the middle of that ocean and the storm coming from the north and the storm coming from the south and the engine locked up?
Yeah.
And I was out there trying to start that engine that had AMSOIL in it, had burned the cylinder up, and it didn't have much compression. It was going put, 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 popping like that, and I'm going in. We're going like this, trying to get that boat in.
Yeah, I remember.
Into those storms. Now they're not going anyplace. Now, if there had been any wind against us, you know what? We wouldn't have gotten anyplace. But the wind was kind of pushing us. Now they're rowing against the wind here now. For it kept on being the wind contrary to them. Enantios. That means contrary, against them. About basically the middle of the night. And he comes toward them walking around upon the sea. You know something? It wouldn't have bothered me one bit if Jesus hadn't been out there on that wing of that airplane holding it up. But in all reality, he was. We didn't have any trouble. Even though they had guns on us, they had machine guns on us, they were threatening us with death, I'm sure, when we flew in there. Jesus was there. And it's in the middle of the night. He comes toward them walking of epites thalasses, upon the sea. Epi means upon, tes thalasses, upon the sea. And he kept on wishing to walk by them. He was going to walk by them. He's going to walk by them now. He kept on wishing. That comes from fellow there. Third person singular, first one, imperfect, indicative, active, to pass beside. That little infinity, that comes para and erchomai. He's going wishing to pass by them. Now let's look at verse number 49 now. Hoi de idontes, auton epites thalasses, peripaton ta, edoxon, hote, phantisma, esten kai anacrazen. And moreover, weak adversive conjunctive particle, page 85 there, that day, it starts before the hoi in the front of it there. It's at hoi day, but actually it's day hoi grammatically. The one seeing, the ones having seen him, the ones having seen him. Upon the sea. Now they see him out there walking upon the sea. Now, how many times have you ever seen somebody walking upon the sea? In the movies you might see this. 0. Upon the thalasses. And this is what we call the inland sea. Walking around. This word walking around here, it's a present participle active, accusative, singular, masculine, patio. Peri means around and patio means to walk. And they thought, or they judged, that comes from dokio, third person plural, first aorist, indicative, active. It's a punctiliar action. That, phantisma. Phantisma. Have you ever heard of a phantom? Phantom, the phantom of the opera, the phantom this, the phantom that. A phantom is a specter. Now, right close to us, there are 2 famous hotels that have ghosts in them, supposedly. Now, I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in demon spirits that inhabit these places. And demons are what? They seek to dwell in human or animal flesh, and they're very what? Territorial. They don't like to leave where they are. Now they think that they've seen some type of a demon spirit. Now out here in the Sea of Galilee, remember this. Out in the Sea of Galilee, they think that the bottom of the Sea of Galilee, because it's real deep, they think that's the gates of hell, Hades. And they think down there at the bottom of this sea, there is a a gate that is guarded by a Leviathan. And this Leviathan is a demonic creature. Now they think that they've seen something unholy. Now Jesus is holy, but they think they've seen something unholy. They think a ghost. Now this word means to shine. Phantasma. That means to shine. And so he's standing out. They can see him very easily. And he is, and he keeps on being. And they cried out. They screamed. They cried out and they screamed. Verse number 50. Pontes gar auton Adon, Kai etarak sa the nason, Hode ithus, aleleson, met auton, Kai lege autois, Fa recite, ego ame me, obeste. The little conjunction there, gar now. For all him they saw. They all saw him. For all him they saw, and they were terrified. They were tarasso is the word it comes out of, and that means to be agitated. That means that your mind is confused. You don't believe what you're seeing. You don't believe it at all, and yet you're seeing it. Whole day, immediately, and the one. Now that word whole there, that's an odd single masculine definite article, but it's got a practical substantive with it, which means the one. Moreover, the one, immediately, he kept on talking to them. Now, this word laleo comes from laleo. It means more than just lego. Laleo means to speak with a human voice. He wasn't a spirit. He wasn't an angel. He's speaking with a human voice. He spoke to them with a human voice, and he says, and keeps on saying to them, have courage. Have courage. Each one of you have courage and have confidence and boldness. For it is me, and I am not a spirit. It is me, and I am not a spirit. Verse number 51 now. Kai anabe, pros autos, esto, ploion, kai echo pasen ho animos, kai leon and alhiatos, existanto. And he went up toward them unto the boat. And he cut the wind off. He stopped the wind. The wind ceased. Ekapasan. That comes from kapazo. It means it comes from kapta, which means he chopped the wind off. He just, right instantly, the wind stopped. I mean, there was a tremendous storm out here, and all of a sudden, when he comes up there is no wind anymore. The wind has ceased. It's chopped off. The wind chopped off, and exceedingly much in themselves, they kept on being astonished or struck out of their senses. They kept on being astonished or struck out of their senses. Verse number 52, now then the end of this message. Hogar sinakan epitois artois all ein autois he cardia pep poromene. For they understood not they understood. Ugar sineke. oo there comes from ook, and that's a particle or an adverb of negation, page 294. For, we have a little casual particle there. For not, they could put things together. Seen enemy. Seen and histemi there is what it comes from. Not, they were able to put things together. Epites artois. And not they were able to put the breads together, but kept on being of them, their hearts having been hardened, petrified. They were unimpressed. They were calloused. They were calloused. Let's go back and look at this now and read this from the something here, if I can find it. There it is, from the Amplified Bible. Used to have Sharon come up here and do this for me. But this one here now, I've got pretty large print, so I can see a little bit better with this one. Let's read this before we started and where we're going. Verse number 45. Jesus immediately insisted that his disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side of Bethesda. Now he's left on the shore and they're going to go over there while he was dismissing the crowd. And after he had said goodbye to them, he went into the mountain to pray. He had to get rid of all these people so he could pray. Now when evening had come, the boat was in the middle of the sea and Jesus was alone on the land. And seeing the disciples straining at the oars, because the wind was contrary to them, against them, about the fourth watch of the night, and that's 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., just before daylight, he came to them walking on the sea, and acted as if he intended to pass them by. But when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought that he was a ghost, and they cried out in horror. They kept on crying out in horror. Well, they all saw him and were shaken and terrified. But he immediately spoke to them and said, "Take courage. Stop being afraid." Then he got into the boat with them, and wind ceased as if it exhausted of its own activity, and they were completely overwhelmed, because they did not understand the miracle of the loaves of the bread where he fed 5,000. They didn't understand that. And how he revealed the divine power, his divine power, but in fact their hearts were hardened, being obviously indifferent to his amazing works. They were thinking of the now. They were not thinking about anything else. They were thinking about right now. I can guarantee you one thing: when I was in that airplane flying over the Mediterranean Sea, and that engine was leaking, and that cabin would act like it's going to fall apart, and the wing's going to fall off that thing, I was thinking about the then and now. And I didn't know whether the Lord was going to bring me through this thing or not. Sometimes you don't. Just think about those people over there, that Hamas, that they captured over there, those Americans. I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they were over there on a tour. Maybe they were working with archaeology like I was. I don't know. But they were captured. And you never know whether you're going to live through it or not. I went over there from Amman, Jordan, crossing the Allenby Bridge into Israel, and they stopped us. Somebody had stolen my vaccination records. That was divinely appointed. I can assure you that now. We were there, we were on this archaeological tour. There were a lot of other tours and stuff going on there, different kind of tours. We were being guided by doctors. The archaeologists, these doctors were showing us these tales, and we were getting to do a little bit with it. I was earning credits for my college. We got over there, and we were there for 2 or 3 hours. I was sick. I had dysentery from when I was in Damascus, Syria. I was sick. And I didn't feel like sitting on that bus. So finally, they made us get off the bus. They made us get off the bus. So we got off the bus. And it was a one-lane road. Talk about divine purpose and whatever. Nobody could go around anymore. And so they put another group of people on our bus and they sent them over there. And they wanted a payoff, or they wanted me to take all these shots again. And so we waited there, and all of a sudden somebody gave them some money or something. I don't know what happened, but anyway, they let us go. But we got on the bus, another bus. We had a tour guide. We had this archaeologist there, and he was telling us that we would stop and we'd look at this and we'd stop and look at that. When we got across that Allenby Bridge over there, the bus we were on was blown up. Was nothing left but burning tires and a frame and pieces of the body out there. And the Israeli army, now who did this was these young teenage Arabs, these Islamists, radical Islamists. I think it's all radical. And they had killed these people and burned that bus up. But I was divinely stopped there because somebody had stolen my vaccination records, and we weren't on that bus. I don't feel sorry for the people who are on the bus because they're dead. Nothing left of them. But I look back, I was going across that sea. We stopped there in Beirut, Lebanon. We almost got shot there. We called us in with anti-aircraft rifles. We flew in there to Damascus, Syria. All the time we were in Damascus, Syria, we were in threat of life and death. I saw 3 men hanging by the neck up there on a cross arm where you go into the courthouse, and they were hanging there for 9 or 11 days that I was there. They were still hanging there all that time. And I think they were Americans. This was a real scary place. But we've gone to the tales. We're learning a lot of stuff, you know, in spite of all this. And all the time as I look back, the Lord was there with me on that airplane wing. The Lord was there with me on the bus. He had somebody steal my vaccination records. Think about that. You ever lost anything that was a benefit? I lost my vaccination records and we couldn't stop. We didn't get to go over there, so we didn't get shot up and blown up. You can look back on things and you can understand it a lot better than you can look forward a lot of times, can't you? Our Father, we send this message out for your honor and glory. Please use it. Please encourage your people all over the world that you're with them there, life or death or whatever. I could have been killed over there 50 years ago, but I wasn't. You had work for me to do. And I know one thing, all the things that happened to me in my life, that I am absolutely undefeatable and immortal, so to speak, until you're finished with me, but that may be today or tomorrow. I do not know. But have your way with me.